How do people know the areas of circles? Like, see that circle? It's not like a square or like a rectangle. You can't do height times by width or anything because it gets smaller and wider, and that's really pretty hard. How did mathematicians do it? This video is going to be about the area of a circle. Here's how they tried and eventually succeeded. They looked at the radius. Now the radius of a circle is from the center to the edge. So if the center was here and you drew a line to the edge, that would be the radius. Then they did a weird thing. They actually imagined like it would be a square. If that radius was made into a square, let's shift it across a bit, the square would look something like that. And here's a question for you. What would be the area of that square? The area of that square, if you had a radius, let's call the radius r. The radius, that makes sense, if we call the radius r. Then, the area of that square would be r times by r, and that would be r squared. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what on earth has making a square in the middle of nowhere, how is that going to help us find the area of a circle? Well, I don't know if you've watched my video on a circumference, or you might have already known, but there's an amazing symbol in mathematics. And what completely freaked out all the mathematicians when they found out is that symbol we saw before of pi, and this is what it looks like, symbol of pi there. That is the exact same symbol that you need when you're looking at the area of a circle. Why is that? How's that going to have anything to do with it? You see that square, r squared? If you imagine that fitting inside the circle, how many of those would fit inside the circle? In other words, how many r squareds would fit inside that whole circle? Well, the answer is pi. In case you didn't watch the other video, pi is 3.141592, carrying on forever. It's a rough approximation, but it's 3 and a bit, basically. In other words, that r squared would fit 3 and a bit more times inside the circle. And that's where you get the amazing formula in mathematics for the area of a circle, which will be pi times by the radius squared. Let's put that in a nicer colour. Pi times the radius squared equals the area of the circle. That is so incredibly important and useful. I'm going to put it in a little box, and then I'm going to highlight it. Let's highlight it perhaps like this. Maybe not that. Like that. So pi times r squared is the area of a circle. Now, using that information, we can do almost any circle and get its area. In fact, any circle and get its area. Let's try. Let's do this circle. It's a cool looking circle. And let's say it has a radius of 2. But what I don't care about the radius. I want to know the area of the circle. What is the area of that circle? Well, if the radius is 2, I need my incredible formula at the top. The area of a circle is pi, which you should find in all of your calculators, times by that radius squared. If you're not sure what squared means, I have done another video on that, but it basically means the number times by itself. So in this case, it would be, for example, pi times by 2 times 2. Pi times by r squared. that's how many times that radius, that square of the radius, fits inside the whole circle, and it's the same for any circle. Let's do it in a calculator. Pi, here it is, times by 2 squared. 2 times 2. That's 12.56. Let's call it 12.6. That's 12.6 centimeters squared. I like that so much. Let's do another circle. This time though, just to confuse you, I'm going to make it bigger, and I'm going to give you the diameter and not the radius. Here's the diameter. The diameter, of course, goes all the way across, not just from the center. And I'm going to tell you that diameter is actually 10 centimeters across. I reckon to get the area of that circle, I'm going to do pi times by 10 squared. Would that be right? Well, the formula is pi times the radius squared. And the radius is actually half the diameter. So I can't do pi times the diameter squared or pi times 10 squared. I have to do pi times the radius squared. Now the radius of this circle, halfway across, so from the center to the edge, is 5 centimeters. So the formula for this circle, to get its area, is going to be, you guessed it, pi times by 5 squared, which is pi times by 5 squared is 25, and so it's going to be pi times 25. Just quickly, sometimes they might say give your answer in terms of pi. So just to put that in the top, just so you know what it looks like if you see it. Give your answer in terms of pi. That means the answer to this question would be 25 pi. So you wouldn't have to work it out. That's usually on a non-calculator paper where you don't have a calculator. If it's a calculator paper, they would ask you maybe to 2 decimal places or 3 significant figures, in which case you would have to do on your calculator 25 times by pi, which is the 2 decimal places, 78.54 centimeters squared. So 78.54 centimeters squared. And I hope that piques your curiosity about circles and about this mysterious and powerful symbol called pi, and how we can use it by doing pi times r squared to find the area of any circle.